Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome back to the second episode 2 of this flipping houses series that I'm doing. Last week we talked about whether flipping is even right for you or not, and if you listened, you now have a better sense of what it takes, what kind of personality fits, and how to start small if you need to. And this week we're diving into one of the most important steps of the whole flipping process, and that's how to find the right property to flip. So the reason I decided to do this series here on the podcast is because over the years of me sharing the properties that we have flipped to sell, flipped to rent, I get a lot of questions, and I have gotten a lot of questions. People have asked me to even put kind of like a course together or like a subscription or membership. I'm trying to think of how they put it, to get more in depth and help them in this area. So I'm starting here with this series on the podcast just to kind of go over some of the basics and kind of break it all down into smaller chunks. I hope it's helpful. If you know anybody that's thought about this or has questions about the process, please share these podcasts with them. But I'm hoping that this helps. And like I said, I'm going to do kind of a series here for the next couple of weeks just to kind of hit every little area that people ask about most. And then if there's something else that I can dive deeper into or you have more questions, definitely reach out to me and let me know. But today we're going to talk about how to find the right property to flip. And so this is literally what can make or break your flip, right? A great property sets you up for success, while the wrong property can quickly turn into a money pit and just not good. And this is the thing that is the hardest part for us, I would say, in the way that we flip houses and the way that we have done it in the past. I guess I should say in the past, we just finished our last one. So this is the hardest part. I'm going to share where I look for properties, red flags to avoid, what makes a house a good flip, and just some of the strategies I use. And at the end of this episode, I hope you can walk away and just start looking at properties with a little bit more of, what do I want to say? A little bit more knowledge and just a little bit more open eyes, if that makes sense. Like, just so you can kind of see, you'll see properties in a different way. So where to look for potential properties. So obviously there's online listings, right? The MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com. These are great for seeing what's currently on the market and for comparing prices. Now, if you have your real estate license and you're kind of like on the inside, you may and probably do have what do I want to say? You could use these probably a little bit differently, and maybe you'll get to know the listings that are coming up before anybody else. And that's where I recently just had a talk with somebody. That's where I think having a real estate license could benefit you. Now, Matt and I do not have that. My dad did sell real estate at one point in his life, but towards the end when he was flipping houses and stuff, he did not have his real estate license. But through some of his real estate stuff, he did teach us some lessons and some things that he learned. And through him knowing some of that stuff, we learned how you can buy and sell without using a realtor. I'm not going to get into that. And to be honest, there is only one property that we've had that we sold that the buyers had an agent. That is the only time in all of the properties we have done that we have used a realtor. I'm trying to think back, but we have a great company here that we work with. They handle everything. It's super inexpensive for both the buyer and the seller. But if you're new, and that you don't want to do that, obviously work with a realtor. So basically, if you're going to use, Zillow and those kinds of things, I feel like Zillow is last to the game. Like you're not going to know the first listings that are coming up, like the brand new listings, if that makes sense. These, you're going to look for properties. If this is how you're going to start looking, look for properties that have been on the market for a long time, right? Sellers will get motivated and they're willing to negotiate there. Pay attention to the comps. So these, websites and things are so good for comps. It's something that we do look on Zillow and those kinds of things for both rental prices, what people are getting for rent for certain houses, and then for selling prices, buying prices, all of that around the neighborhood that you're looking in. So they are good resources to have for a bunch of different things that go into buying a flip, but they're not the main one. So number 2 is word of mouth and networking. This is your gold mine. So some of the best deals don't come from listings at all. The houses aren't listed. And this is how we have gotten every single one of our houses. Now, I will be completely honest. I found the first house Matt and I did on our own. It was near where we lived. And one day, I don't know what it was, I was driving home and something about this house caught my eye. And I thought, I don't think anybody's there. It just kind of looks a little bit run down. Let me just reach out to the owner. And that owner is the one that we've now bought. I don't know. We've been working with her for 8 years. 4 houses. I don't even know. From her, because she was actually somebody that her and her previous husband had a ton of houses, and he passed away, and she kind of inherited all these houses. Well, she was keeping them up and she was doing it all. And then she was kind of getting to the point where she wanted to retire, yada, yada. And so we kind of got in good with her and we were able to buy multiple houses from her. So it's that small thing on a whim. I wrote to this person and she was like, how did you know I wanted to sell? I said, I didn't. And I explained to her what kind of we were looking for, what we were trying to do, why her house caught my eye, and I was open and honest with her. And that led to more deals that we worked out with her over the years. Word of mouth and networking is such a gold mine. So talking to real estate agents, again, I feel like, we do work with a realtor. She's amazing. We have been looking for a house for us to actually live in. So it's so good to have a realtor like in your back pocket because they are so knowledgeable. But I feel like when you're looking to flip something or like a good deal comes across or there's a listing coming up, those real estate agents, not all of them, they're in it, they would be willing to flip it or, buy it low and sell it higher, blah, blah, if they see a deal come across the desk. Unless you've got a real estate agent that's like a really, in the know, knows all those kinds of, tell them what if that's the route you're going to go, you need to be completely honest with your real estate agent. And if you are somebody that like you want houses now, like you don't want to wait a year, you don't want to wait 2 years. Like tell this real estate agent, like you need them working for you night and day, right? Like to find those good deals that are coming across the desk because not all real estate agents are flippers and want to flip properties, but they know, you're looking for a house at this amount of dollars, needs this much work, and that in the end, you can make some money on it or whatever. So having that, if that's the route you want to go, is really, really good. And meet with a couple of different real estate agents to find the right one that's gonna work their butt off to find you these deals. Contractors, neighbors, all of those people. Don't just think it's family and friends. If you have somebody coming into your house, a plumber, and he's got to fix something, open your mouth about what you'd like to do. These people it's like the house that we live in right now. It was our second house, and my dad was actually fixing the deck on this house. And it was an older couple, and they built the house, and they were looking to go move into a condo. And so my dad's like, talk to him. And obviously we bought the house, blah, blah, blah. But we got such a good deal on it, and we knew it was all original. So it was just us updating it. And obviously we've stayed here for so long, but it's just those kinds of word of mouth types of things that is so, so good. My dad's in a nursing home, and it got out that we were working on a couple houses. And so some people have approached me about houses there. So it's just, you just never know. Do not be shy about it. Just start talking to anybody and everybody. Sometimes sellers don't want to list publicly. They don't want to pay the fees for a realtor, and to sell quietly and quickly to somebody that's a serious buyer can kind of offer them what they're looking for. They don't have to pay all the realtor fees and all of that. That's part of your negotiation if you're going that route. And that's part of the negotiation that I always use. And so, and I say I because Matt doesn't do any of that part. He's so funny. Yeah, you can go ahead and contact him, or you can go ahead and talk to him. So I have to do all that part. So just that's part of a negotiating power, if you will, that you can use if that's the route you're going to go. You know, if there's local real estate meetups or online groups, you know, again, this is going to depend on where you live. Just being known in your market can give you first access to opportunities. It'll be the most random people, or it'll just kind of fall into place when in just the weirdest ways. So just keep your ears and eyes open and your mouth open, because you just never know when that opportunity is going to come around. So the next one is auctions and foreclosures. We have never done this. And to be completely honest, I don't think I'm pretty sure we're not ever going to do this, but you never say never, right? So it's just, they can be tricky sometimes, especially auctions. They're not a good place. They could be a good place to find motivated sellers, but yet everybody else and their mom that's trying to do what you're doing is also going to be at that auction fighting for, potentially. So make sure you know the auction rules, the deposits, the timelines before bidding. A lot of them, want cash, so you're not going to be able to get like a mortgage or a refinance or like anything like that, right? So you just have to know all the rules before you get into it. But this is also where you need to be careful. Don't get caught up in the excitement and overbid, especially with foreclosures and things. A lot of these houses are being sold as is. Sometimes you can't even go through the house before. And that right there, that's probably a no-go for me ever. If I can't even go through it and walk through it and see what it needs, I just don't feel confident enough to just throw money at it that way. But that is definitely a way that people do it. And I've seen it done many times. So I just wanted to kind of give you all the kind of different ways that you can find houses and those kinds of things. Word of mouth and networking, that has been our wheelhouse. Another thing that you can do is just driving around. You get the worst house in the best neighborhood, right? And that's kind of what you're looking for. Going around in, pretty good neighborhoods. The neighborhood that if you're buying, or if you're going to sell or rent, the neighborhood matters. If you want good renters, if you want top dollar for rent, and if you want the best price for a flip, that neighborhood needs to be a good one. You want to make sure that you are investing in the right neighborhoods. Not every neighborhood is good to be investing in. Again, just had another personal chat with somebody that's thinking about getting into this. And they were on, I think it was Zillow or something. It was like a public listing or something. And they're like, look at this. And they're like, so they were thinking about, renting it out and all of this. And I'm like, okay, first of all, look at the address. And I explained to them where this was. Secondly, I said, it's all done for you. They've already updated everything in that house. So right now, what they're selling it at, what you're looking at, that is the top dollar. That is going to be, and with that neighborhood, that is going to be the top dollar that you'll get now, 5 years, 10 years. I know it does fluctuate a little bit, but there are those certain neighborhoods that it's not going to, right? Like this neighborhood's not going to get any better. This house cannot get any better. Does that make sense? So it's like you have to, I could talk about this stuff all day long. And when people bring me a house or they're thinking about this it's like, no, wait, now let's reel it back because I'm going to teach you how to do this. So you definitely need to make sure when you're, if it's a neighborhood you found a house in, it's the right neighborhood. That's another way that you can find properties is basically driving around, You could look for properties that look neglected, and sometimes the owners, maybe they don't want to be dealing with it anymore. Maybe the owners are, thinking kind of like our house. Yeah, it's getting too much to take care of. We need to go to a condo. There's so many circumstances, right? Just so many circumstances. They're moving out of state for another job. You never know. So that's another way that you can find potential properties. Again, word of mouth and networking is going to be your wheelhouse. I'm taking a quick break from the episode to share some exciting news with you. If you have ever wanted to flip furniture for extra cash, a creative outlet, or to build a business but didn't know where to start, there's never been a better time. My Furniture Flipping Academy is now just $79, which is over $200 off the original price. Inside, you'll learn how to find amazing pieces on a budget or for free, how to transform them step by step, sanding, painting, staging, all the things, how to price and sell for real profit, and even know how to work with brands to grow your flipping business in more ways than you know. And that's just the start. There is so much more waiting for you inside the academy. We have so much packed inside the academy. It's completely self-paced. Once you buy it, it's yours for life. There are no deadlines. There's no pressure. We do have a sneak peek inside the link in the show notes. It will give you a glimpse inside the academy. And here's the truth. Nothing changes unless you do. You can keep waiting for the right time, or you can take this step now. At $79, the price isn't holding you back anymore. So stop hesitating. Stop making excuses. Click the link and get started today. So what are some red flags to avoid? Not every property that looks like a quote unquote deal is actually a good flip. So here are some things that we always watch out for. And I can Matt and I, let's say we find a house, maybe it's a listing, or our real estate agent calls and says, hey, this house I think is a fixer-upper or something, right? She hasn't been through it yet, but she knows us, and she knows that we want to drive past the place first because we will be able to tell a lot just by that, because I don't want to waste her time and I don't want to waste our time going through a house that we know just by driving by that it's a dead set no. Some things we look out for. Obviously, major structural issues. That is a definite no. And that sometimes for us will be the age of the house. So, sometimes we'll see a house or whatever and we'll see the age of it, and it's that the age alone will be like, nope. Usually where we like to be is like the 50s on up. That's where we are comfortable with. Anything that's like 1890, 1910, like we've got certain neighborhoods around where we live. I mean, some of those houses are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but they have so many other issues and different foundations, and it's just too much for Matt and I. That's just not something we're going to take on. So, sagging roof lines, foundation cracks, water damage that's extensive. These will eat your budget and your timeline and could be constant headaches for you. So those are definitely a red flag for us. Red flag run. We're not going to take them. Neighborhood decline. So this is a big one. You can change a lot about a house. You can fix a lot about a house. Even if, let's just say, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix a roof and the foundation and everything, right? You can fix anything for a price, right? You cannot fix location. You cannot change that location. So when I say the neighborhood is so important, I'm telling you the neighborhood is so important. Even if the house is cheap. If the neighborhood is declining, that's a red flag for us. Run. We are not going to invest there. Okay, now depending on where you are, unpermitted work. So things like additions, maybe it's electrical and plumbing updates done without permits. They can be expensive to fix and can even prevent the property from being sold later. So those are just some things, again, when you're buying a house as is, and every single one that we have bought, it's been as is. If we want to get an inspection, that is only for our knowledge. And my dad, knowing as much as he did, he was our inspector always. It's like we would find a house, like Matt and I would go look at it. We're like, yes, I think this is it. And then I would say, can I just have my dad walk through it with us and, just go through all the things? And he was our final thing. He would be like, okay, you are going to have to fix this. Nope, this is totally, doable. This will cost you nothing, blah, blah, blah. He would go through every single house and he was our inspector. We just felt better that we had that assurance because my dad had worked on so many houses and just in construction alone. And so when my dad, his health declined so fast, these last three, really, Matt and I did totally on our own. Like it was a gamble. Like we thought we knew what we knew. We did have my mom come through one of them. And she's like, I don't know what help I'm going to be. Well, you'll see things that we won't. I was really nervous about it. But we did know who we were buying it from and the houses that we had bought from her before. We kind of knew what we were getting into. And to kind of go along with the unpermitted work, when you're buying a house as is, if that's what you're doing, like I said, that's what we've always done because that's a negotiation tactic that I throw in when I'm negotiating. Listen, I'm buying it as it is. So this is where I'm coming from, right? Not necessarily even unpermitted work, but who did they have working on the house? And some of her handyman men did not, like, they would put the kitchen sink in backwards. So like the hot water was on the right and the cold water was on the left. Like just little things like that, an easy fix, right? But it was just like, some people did not have really good qualified people in there working on the houses. So that's something else you got to look for. Hard to resell layouts. So, there's houses where Matt and I will go through and it's like, you can't even fix this to make it work, right? So, weird floor plans, super tiny kitchens, not enough bathrooms. It's going to make it harder to sell if you're flipping to sell, or if you're, you maybe renting would be easy, but then when you are ready to sell it, those layouts, without hundreds of thousands of dollars are hard to change, right? We actually, when we were looking up some comps for this last one we did, there was a house like the same size. We thought the same layout and it said something like 5 bedrooms, which we understand how they got the 5 bedrooms. 6 bathrooms. We're like, wait, what is going on? What is going on? I am not kidding you. They were counting bathrooms. I don't know what they did with this house. It's almost like they were dorm rooms in this house or something. But they would have like a corner sink in a bedroom and they were calling that a bathroom, right? So it's like, so you just have to, these are just some red flags. Things that you need to have, and this is a broad list, but these are just things that you have to look out for. What makes a good flip versus a money pit? If you guys have never seen that movie, Tom Hanks, it's old. I don't know. What is it from the 80s? Oh my gosh. One of our family favorites, when that tub or that whatever goes through the floor and he laughs. Oh my gosh. You should watch that movie. So funny. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and everything I swear is 2 weeks. Okay. If you know, you know. Okay. A solid foundation and roof. These things are expensive to replace, but a solid foundation is so good. So when I say solid, for us, how should I say this? Because I know wherever you are in the country, wherever you're listening to, this is going to look different because houses are different. Some places here where we live, if you don't have a basement, we call those slab houses. And there are houses like that. We did have a flip that was a slab, no basement at all. We have poured basements. Those are our favorite. Those foundations are great. Block basements, 9.9 times out of 10, Matt and I will say no to those. So a solid foundation is gold. Roofs, you can obviously get them done. Just make sure you budget for that, right? So you need a new roof. So you're going to budget for that. And that's going to come off the price, right? That's kind of like your negotiation, right? Cosmetic updates needed rather than major structural repairs, right? Think paint, flooring, cabinets, lighting, changes that add value without breaking the bank. A neighborhood that's either stable or appreciating in value, right? That's what's going to make a good flip versus a money pit. A property price that allows you to have a healthy profit margin after repairs, holding costs, and selling costs. Okay, so if you're flipping to sell. And I have done podcast episodes about that specifically. That price, there is so much involved in price. I think, so you got to nail that down. You got to zone in on that, and you got to hone in on that and really make sure all the prices make sense. A money pit usually has multiple big ticket problems, right? That are easy to underestimate. Plumbing, electrical, foundation, HVAC, structural damage. Even if you can fix it, your profit can go fast. Okay, so just make sure that you know what you're getting into. So how I put this all together and like how this kind of works. So start with online listings. Get a sense of comps, market trends, potential neighborhoods. Just get on there and just start browsing. Okay. And if you have decided, after the last podcast, you're like, I think I can do this. Like, I think this is for me. Okay. Where are you at? Like, are you, a 2-bedroom house? Would you want to start there? Like, what are you kind of looking for? Kind of narrow it down so it doesn't become so overwhelming. And you're looking at, farmhouses with 18 buildings and 16 acres. You know what I mean? Just starting out. Like, you want to be able to narrow it down so you don't get overwhelmed. And then it just helps you kind of understand that market that you think you're going to be in. It helps you understand it better. Narrow it down. Network constantly. Whoever it is, contractors, neighbors, friends, family, agents. For us, the best deals never hit the MLS. Let me say that again. The best deals never hit the MLS. Scout in person. Again, driving neighborhoods. When you see houses that you like online, let's say Zillow or whatever you're using, go out and drive past that house, right? You see one that you think like, okay, this is maybe it's a house that's already done and you just want to go see what the outside looks like, what the neighborhood looks like. Go out, drive around, walk around, scout it out in person, just because this should start to be second nature to you. This is going to be your life with no flip houses, projects, or anything going on. So this is, again, for me, my life, not for Matt. Matt is not, Matt works out of the home, 5 days a week. But me, like it can be me and him together. I'm with the kids. I'm looking online by myself. I'm just trying to think, like I'm constantly messaging, the real estate agent about questions or houses I see or whatever. Something will come up and I'll be like, hey, does this make sense? And I can run it by her or whatever. Or I see a house, that I might be interested in. I am always constantly looking for our next flip. And that should become, it's second nature to me. Second nature to me. So that should become your life. Just being aware at all times, if that makes sense. Listening when you are out in public and you hear people talking, or you're at a family gathering or whatever, a wedding, a nursing home, wherever you are, listening to people and then opening your mouth and sharing what you do or want to do. For me, I put this on here, but check auctions last. Only if you understand the process and have your numbers in advance and are okay with that kind of risk, check the auctions. Never let emotions override numbers. We have been so close to so many properties, so close as to being like $2,000, and they won't come down the $2,000, and we've had to let it go. I always say, Matt is somebody that's like, oh, okay, we'll just pay the $2,000 so we can get it. And I'm like, the numbers have to make sense. Do you know how far a $2,000 can go for Lindsay in a flip house where I am budget conscious? I know everything down to a T. Like, do you know what I mean? Like $2,000 is huge. And we have walked away, and Matt would, say to me, okay, let's just do it. We'll just go the 2,000. And I have to be like, Matt, listen. And I go through the numbers and he's like, you're right. Like we can't you cannot let your emotions override numbers. And one thing my dad always taught me really, and this was from his real estate days, because he learned this the hard way. You're not getting paid until something's sold. And he would be at a closing and somebody would back out. Like literally, here's the keys, here's the check, blah, 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 and somebody would back out. The house is not sold either way. If you're, selling a house that you flipped, if you're, buying a house that you want to flip, the house is not sold until you have the keys in your hand. Anything can go wrong. So even if let's say they met you with that $2,000, you've got the contract signed, everything, blah, 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 whatever it is, something can still happen, right? So, in the first couple, our emotions were definitely in it. Like we thought but now we're to the point where if it doesn't make sense, it's your money. It's your investment, right? That's business, right? It's not personal, it's business. And so, sometimes it's a $2,000, that sucks, right? I mean, we're so close, but if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And you definitely cannot let your emotions get in the way of that. Even if the house is perfect, you love it, you can see it done, you can make XYZ in it. You have to make sure it meets your budget, your timeline, your profit goals, like all the things have to line up. And somebody being stubborn over $2,000 or whatever, and that's me, it's just not going to be a right fit. Like this is just not going to work out. And hopefully they think about it and they're like, it's $2,000. Like I could have this done next month. What am I doing? And that has happened before. Actually, 2 of the houses we just bought, I stood my ground and I told her, I said, I'm not budging. So this is where we're at. And she wanted out and she met us where we wanted to be. And again, it got down to the wire. With the first one, it really got down to the wire. And Matt couldn't believe I got it for what we got it for because he knew how far apart we were. And so then the second one, we drove by it. We're like, yeah, we're interested. But I said, but I'm only interested at a certain price. Like if you're way off, she was $50,000 above where we were. I'm like, there's no way. So no, I just said no. And she's like, okay, then you tell me where you're at. And I told her where we were at. Matt's like, there's no way. And she's like, okay, it's a done deal. So you just never know. But if it doesn't make sense for you, get your emotions out of it. Don't do it. Do not do it. Finding the right property is as much about research and observation as it is about luck. I cannot say that enough. The more you practice, spotting the good deals, understanding neighborhoods, running the numbers, looking at comps, the better you'll get. Just like anything you do, the more you do it, the better you'll get. Start with what's accessible to you right now. Online listings, word of mouth, even, a casual drive-by. As you gain experience, you'll start seeing opportunities before anyone else does. And I'm telling you, like Matt doesn't do a lot of talking. Matt, if you know him personally, you know this, he is a quiet guy, unless you want to talk about sports, like the guy will talk to you all day long. But I am constantly like with him, I'm like, okay, we need to go talk to those people. Or one time we were at a funeral and it came up and I said, Matt, I have to go talk to this person because I know blah, blah, blah. And I think I shared that here on the podcast, that story. And he's like, okay, like, he's just like, okay, Lindsay, what, and then now here we are. So because I do talk and do, you just have to be out there about it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. I promise you that. Know your criteria. What makes a property a good flip for you? What makes it a money pit? Stick to those things. You'll save your time, your money, and a lot of headaches down the road, and just start getting good at spotting those potential flip houses. So that is it for this episode, how to find the right property to flip. If you enjoyed this episode or you know somebody that would benefit from it, please share this podcast. I always appreciate it when you share the podcast. And like I've been telling you in the past few podcasts, if you are a podcast listener and you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go to the show notes. We will leave a link to the YouTube channel in the show notes. We upload the podcast to YouTube every Monday, and we might be coming up doing some changes, but the podcast will continue to be on YouTube. So you can just go to YouTube and you'll just listen to it like you do wherever else you listen to podcasts. But I want to make sure that you take 1 second to click the link, go to our YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/@mycreativedays. Everything is My Creative Days on all the channels. Hit the subscribe button. That's all you have to do. And if you want to, you can click the bell when you're over there as well. And then you will be notified when anything new gets launched on the YouTube channel. Every week, we put the podcast on the YouTube channel, and I am also uploading new videos every week as well. But as far as the podcast, if you really enjoy the podcast, you need to make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions about this podcast, any questions about this flipping process or series that I'm sharing with you, again, reach out to me, let me know. It helps me know exactly what kind of content you're looking for and what ways I can help you. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you very soon. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I am grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.